Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Thursday Night Live with your host, Jacob Kirkbride, here on SAFC Fan TV, which is going to be reviewing an absolute horror show of a performance against Blackburn Rovers at the Stadium of Light on Easter Monday, and also looking ahead to the visit of Bristol City to the Stadium of Light this weekend. Going to be a shorter show than usual this week, as it's only me and Jack on. But first of all, Jack, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Seems like it's a lot's happened since the last show last week. Plenty to talk about as usual. But yeah, not a good show on Monday, but I'm sure we'll come on to that, and hopefully people will get involved with the comments.
So far on the comments section, we have got Liam Brennan, FTM. Thank you very much for at least some positivity so far on the chat. Some humour, I should say, rather. Paul Havelock, how you doing, mate? And John Nesbitt, good evening, Jacob and Jack. So, the defeat against Blackburn Rovers, we're going to start off with that. And also, before we go into that, rather, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to SAFC Fan TV. Particularly hit the like button, as we always aim to get to 100 likes on every live stream that we do. But also, don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button as well, as we're on route to 10,000 subscribers here on the channel. The game on Monday, definitely up there with one of the worst performances I've seen at the Stadium of Light from a Sunderland team. Forget the fact that it was at the Stadium of Light, actually one of the worst performances I've seen from a Sunderland team ever. With all the hard work we put into that Cardiff win on Friday, Jack, Monday's performance that completely overshadowed it. There's more cracks at this club than a lot of people realise at this moment in time, and problems behind the scenes that was reflected on the pitch that basically needs to be addressed. Otherwise, you can see this spiraling out of control and going into the start of next season.
Yeah, we were awful, absolutely awful. Real lack of heart, lack of desire, lack of energy from our team. Blackburn, I mean, don't get me wrong, Blackburn played well, but we made them look so good by just not doing the basics right, not winning your 50-50 battles, not putting a foot in the middle, not chasing them down or pressing them. When it was a duel in their attacking third and our defensive third, Blackburn were first to it every time. Sloppy errors to concede the goals. I mean, Blackburn scored 5, and yeah, their fans will be going away happy, but they probably didn't have to work hard at all for any of the 5 goals. It was like simple football, getting the ball down wide, getting the ball in the middle, and then somebody slots it in the back of the net with no pressure from the Sunderland defender to stop the cross coming in, and no pressure from the Sunderland player to stop the shot coming in. And it was the same goal practically 4 or 5 times. And there's no substitute for hard work in football. I mean, Sunderland supporters, we're used to seeing poor teams, but one thing that we can't accept is when a team goes on the pitch and doesn't show any desire, any heart, or want to play for the football club. And that's what it came down to for me, because, yeah, Blackburn were better than us on the day, and you can say it was a bad day at the office. But when you don't do the basics right, and I thought there was 2 or 3, maybe most of the team were hiding, I thought. Not wanting the ball, not putting the foot in. And we don't want that in this football club. If there's one thing Sunderland fans won't forget, it's when a team puts in a performance like that. And it's so disappointing, Jacob, because we went last week, this time last week, we were talking about the Easter period and can we end the run, and we got a good win at Cardiff, and we were looking to build on it at home in front of our own supporters, and it was like 1 step forward and then about 10 steps back on Monday. It was a real horror show, by a mile our worst performance of the season, I would say.
I mean, Jack, it's the first time in a long, long time where a Sunderland team we've known a Sunderland side either been fighting for promotion or fighting relegation for years and years. And this is the first time, and I can't remember the last time, where we're stuck in a mid-table position where it's sort of got the feeling of the flip-flops are out already. And that sort of was the case a bit on Monday. But at the same time, you've got to fight and want to play to earn your place for next season. But it's worrying with a performance on show like that. It basically indicates, Jack, that I don't think many of these players are buying into the plans for next season already from what they know that's going on behind the scenes. A lot of these players, I think, after Monday, with what they put on show, don't want to be here. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, there was too many going through the motions. I mean, you could look at it this way: the Blackburn had something to play for, fighting at the bottom of the table, and obviously that's going to spur them on a little bit more. But wouldn't you think a Sunderland team would sort of feed off that? You know, they're coming up to try and play the game and win the game. They're going to be 100% and battling for every ball in front of a home crowd. Wouldn't you think that spur our lads on more to be like that? But I agree. I think they took the opposite attitude and thought, well, we've got nothing to play for. We're safe now. The playoffs gone. And I've said it a few times on this show in recent weeks, Jake, the season's just drifted. It's drifted from sort of Christmas time when we looked like, yeah, I mean, there was going to be a similar sort of season to last season, wasn't it? That's what we were hoping at Christmas. We was hoping there was going to be a push towards the playoffs. And everything since then that's gone wrong. Obviously, the two managers have gone since before Christmas. Our run of form has been terrible. And the season's just completely drifted into nothingness now where we're sat in mid-table. And I'm probably the same as every person on this chat, and you as well, Jacob. I can't wait for the season to finish. I cannot wait for the season to finish just to put it behind us and then look to the summer. But we've got a big summer ahead, as we've said a few times.
Yeah, it makes you look forward to the Euros a lot more than when your club's doing this poorly and you just wanting the season to end straight away. But at the same time, it's alarming the fact that even some of the players that we thought would turn up against the side who'd only picked up one win in their last 18 just didn't look interested at. It felt like, because the first 15 minutes we were okay at best. We never really looked like threatening them too much, but at the same time they didn't look that either. But once we conceded that first goal, I knew it was going to be that they were going to get more than one for the majority for the rest of the game. To be honest, I knew they were going to hit double figures at some point, and once it got to half time, I was begging for the game to end already, because the guy who's currently in our dugout at this moment in time, do you trust him to change a game tactically? The answer is no. The fact that Mike Dodds waited, and was it until we were 4-0 down, 3-4-0 down to bring a sub on, which was probably our most creative player this season, and Jack Clark just basically sums it up. And yeah, I know they were around the scenes in the Tony Mowbray days, but from what was on display tactically in the 6 defeats we had in a row and what was showing on Monday, I don't want them here at all next season, to be honest. I don't want them in the background, whether, and that's even to do with coaching the academy kids as well. If that's going to be what they're going to offer tactically, then nah, I'm out. Goodbye. As far as I'm concerned, it was horrible. And the fact that also, Jack, we need to touch on starting Patrick Roberts in the game. The guy looked like he could barely string a pass together and receive the ball. I've never seen a player start a game, a decision from a head coach / manager to have a player play from the start where the lack of match fitness, it looked like he should have been still in the treatment room, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was fitness, it was match sharpness, and he just didn't have a very good game. But I mean, he wasn't the only one, but he stood out because every time he got the ball, he gave it away, or he tried something and lost it. And he got the ball 3 or 4 times in what might have been a decent position. And he just looked completely off it. And I agree, he didn't look fit. It wasn't just fitness, though. To me, he looked like he wasn't sharp. He was taking, his anticipation when he was on the ball and everything didn't look like it was what it should be. But I'm not going to be too critical of him, because I think we could hang and dry the whole of the team, couldn't we? I mean, the lad that was playing behind him, Hume, had an absolute nightmare as well. I mean, he got done for the first 2 goals.
Callum Styles on the other side would absolute recipe for disaster if he's going to continue playing left back. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Styles was terrible. O'Nien was terrible, and Pierre Ekwa. I mean, wow.
Oh,
I've never seen a centre, but I think that would probably be, and I've seen, we're probably both, and most people on the chat have seen some bad centre midfield performances, but that would definitely be up there. I'll just come on to the comments, because there's plenty of comments coming in the meantime, Jacob. So, Paul Havelock says, evening, guys. Jason Black says he worries about next season under this lot. Well, you and probably 40,000 of Sunderland supporters, Jason. David Walker makes it clear. He says Speakman and the model out. He thinks they need to go. Peter Salkeld says, hello, lads. Still getting over Easter Monday. Viv says, hello, good evening, everybody from David Joblin. John Nesbitt says it was a Rocky Horror Picture Show after Monday's dross. Paul Havelock agrees with me and you, Jacob. He says Echo was terrible. Jason Black says, I do think the team are feeding from the dross from above. The club lacks ambition and the model isn't working. Well, we'll probably touch on that in the next few minutes. Conrad Tank says, evening all. Peter Salkeld, why bring Clark on at 4-0? Well, we might touch on that as well. People, one or two others saying negativity from above. Colin Major says, why don't the fans protest? Well, you might see that the next home game, to be fair. I don't think we're too far away from that. David Joblin says, ex-Sheffield United manager, not for Sunderland. So that is Heckenbottom. Yeah, David Joblin doesn't want them. Paul Havelock again, we need a strong structure from the team, but I think now it's asking too much from this group of players, and my faith in the team has totally gone. L12 Bong says, evening lads. And last one from Colin Major says, David, turn up in numbers and let him see it. I think maybe means don't turn up in numbers. Maybe everybody not to go, and that might make a message. I think that might be the point that Colin Major is making. But yeah.
Yeah, keep coming with the comments tonight, guys. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer them. Continuing with the performance, Jack, as the game progressed, were you shocked, particularly by half-time? Dodds, even if he didn't make a sub, try and make some reshuffles with the players he already had on the pitch. I mean, Dan Neil trying to play as a holding role, we've said time and time again, him alongside Ekwa, you either have one holding midfield player or you basically have one attacking and one holding and don't play two. But the fact that he's tried to constantly play them two as a pair, sitting in front of the back four, it's they don't work together at all. He's tried it countless times again, and that should be the priority, I think. A holding midfield player in the summer, one with experience, a bit like Corey Evans. Whether it's up for debate whether Evans will stay on one more year, I think his injury record will, I think, limit his chances of getting a new contract. But that, for me, is where the game was lost, that midfield battle. But also on the side that Hume was on that right-hand side as well, there was particularly the first, if you look back at the first goal we conceded, if you watch it back closely, Roberts basically does something that you wouldn't see in like a Sunday morning game where you're attracted to the ball getting dragged out of position whilst there's about 2 or 3 people running in behind you for a cross to come in. And I think that happened for the second one as well. Both goals came from that side. I was shocked, to be honest, of how poor our defending was for the goals in the first half, but for the second half, that was basically just a team just giving up completely, I think anyway. But yeah, it's worrying. And even the subs, when they did come on, Dak, Rigg and Clark, the game was done by that point, to be honest. But were you also a little bit tad surprised that Barr was left out completely, considering he was in the starting 11 for the Cardiff game on Friday?
Yeah, I've been critical of him in the past, and I thought he's sort of flattered to deceive, but he actually had one of his better games in a Sunderland shirt on Friday. I thought he was creative. He attacked the fullback more. He got involved in the final third. I mean, he wasn't absolutely mind-blowing, his performance. It didn't blow anybody away, but you come away from that and thought, yeah, you can see flashes of what why we signed him type thing, you know what I mean? So it was a bit of a strange one for him to drop him or rest him or whatever you want to say, rotate him. And I think it just sums up how naive Mike Dodds is. Do you know what I mean? He's not quite there yet. He might be a decent coach behind the scenes. People might argue that he's not even that, but it's quite a step up to be the manager and be the one that's sort of calling the shots and making tactical decisions. And he really looks like he's out of his depth, doesn't he? To me, he looks completely out of his depth and tactically outdone by the Blackburn manager Eustace. He made him look stupid, didn't he? He completely made him look silly in terms of the decisions, and yeah, it just was a bad day all round. But yeah, I think another thing as well is just how naive we are sometimes. When we're pressing when we don't need to press, and then we're dropping off when we do need to press, and that comes from a real lack of experience on the pitch. We've got nobody to really rally the lads, and we see that we concede one and it turns into 2 and 3, and we're far too easy to play against. And it needs major surgery. I think if we are to try and be a team that wants to build and get promotion out of this league, it's not just 1 or 2 minor tweaks that we need next season. It is major surgery. You're talking 7, 8, 9, 10 bodies. Obviously, a new manager, and maybe new backroom staff, and a whole overlook of the model. I hate to use that word because you use it so much. So it's worrying times. I mean, the alarm bells are definitely ringing from Monday's performance.
I mean, it goes back to the debate also whether who's picking this team at this moment in time. I mean, in the latter stages of when Mowbray was there was indications that it was Speakman because he wants certain players getting more minutes because they want to be sold on a higher value. Mowbray leaked that in an interview. Apparently, he got sacked for it. And with Dodds, it feels like he's just been used as a puppet. He's just there to improve their overall game. And yeah, from what I've seen, you're not going to get it on a consistent basis, I should say. And it felt like the season was written off with the lack of ambition once the January transfer window slammed shut. It was written off by that point, to be honest, Jack. And I know we were, I think after that Plymouth game, where we won 3-1 mid-Feb, we were 6th at that point, I think. And now we find ourselves not even in the top half. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I know we've got the 4th lowest wage bill out of any team in this league, but when you come out and say at the start of the season, we're looking to build upon the season before and aim for promotion, then that's an absolute dross. And they need to get the next appointment spot on in terms of experience of knowing this division, how to improve youth players, because it looks like we're going to stick to the model right now. I don't see it changing anytime soon, particularly with the players we've been linked with. And someone who's going to hit the ground running and build also a good connection with the fan base, because it was doomed straight away when Beale came in. I'm all for giving managers a chance, but the relationship was broken down straight away in terms of his first few press conferences he did and the results he had. But I personally would like, Jack, I mean, I don't know about you. I know there's debate of whether a new manager comes in now, gets to know the squad a little bit, but I think if he does that and he gets off to a bad start, then the more pressure is going to be on. I'd like a clean slate, get that manager agreed, but appointed the day after the season finishes, whether you agree with me on that.
I think for me, I would rather you mean get the right man and get him early. I think it's crucial that we get the right man. I mean, preferably the sooner the better, I would admit, but I would hate to think that we jumped into something and appointed somebody, a few days after the Sheffield Wednesday game, and then the summer goes a little bit haywire and we start badly, and by September, October, he's gone. Do you know what I mean? I would rather, if we're talking about the right man, don't get me wrong, I don't want him to wait till 1 week before the season starts either, but I would rather wait a little bit longer as long as it is the right man. But who that is, obviously, we've discussed at length. It'll only be somebody who fits all of the ideas that the board want. And I think for me, they're in the real. I know people are already in the majority. I'm probably in a minority when I say this, but the majority probably want them out. But I'm in the minority when I say I would give them. I'm willing to give them the summer just to resurrect what we have left of our football club. And if they get the right man in and they get the right players in the summer and we start next season okay, then I would be willing to give a little bit more time. But only that. If we have more of the same, the managerial appointments flat, and we bring in a sort of a plethora of 17, 18, 19-year-olds, and we start the season badly, then I'll be firmly in the camp that I want them gone. People will probably say, why do you give them more chance? They haven't earned the right, and I get that, but I think it's a big summer ahead, so I think we have to get it right, and all I'm waiting to see is what they're going to do, because I think for me, like I say, it's last chance saloon. They're not ruining our football club, but we're slowly imploding, and it's not good to see. So yeah, it's worrying times, concerning times. I'll just go to the chat before you come back. Jacob. So David Walker says, utterly shocking, waiting 4-0 down to make any subs. L12 Bong says the formation should have been changed immediately. Why did Dodds change the team that did so well against Cardiff? Viv 1973 says, I think it's going to be difficult to recruit a competent head coach who is a yes man. Well, I think everybody agrees it's going to be somebody who fits the model, the structure, so to speak, and that limits your options. Mike, our very own, says a puppet is what they want. Without new ownership, there is no straight route forward. Trevor Dudden, use defenders in the defence and put 09 as a defensive midfielder and push Neil further up. Well, we've spoken about 09 in defensive midfield a few times. Whether or not that would work, I don't know, but it certainly couldn't have got any worse than what we were trying on Monday, Trevor. Peter Salkeld says, if we lose heavily on Saturday, do we just plod on with Dodds? Well, I think that's probably going to be the case now. I don't think we're going to get a caretaker in for the last 6 games, but I might be wrong.
That's the point.
Yeah, John Nesbitt says, is Speakman on the so-called model is still in place? No decent, ambitious coach will touch the club with a barge pole. Will Still would be his choice, but he'll have done his homework, so he doesn't think he'll take the job, so it's a non-starter. A couple more. Jacob Paul Havelock says, we really need to spend some money and bring in some decent players for next season. I can see us being back in League One again. We're a laughing stock and the supporters will turn on the team. I think that is the next step, Paul. I think there's a few already did that on Saturday. Callum wants to know who he thinks will be the best option for manager. Bob Bass thinks John Nesbitt is spot on. We need to get rid of Dodds and Proctor. L12 Bong, if they don't bring in a significant manager before the end of the season, then Jacob is right. Speakman is deciding the team. And the last comment is from Colin Major. What makes you think that we will get the right man? They had the right man in Mowbray. So, yeah, plenty of comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the positives rather that this current board has made was replacing Alex Neil quickly and sharply with Tony Mowbray. But I don't think they expected Tony Mowbray to do well, particularly with the signings that they made. I think it just shows with a young developing squad what a brilliant job Tony did do with that. But it was never going to last for 2 seasons. I think Tony was always going to at some point run his course this season, even if he stayed a few more games after that Millwall 1-1 draw where he did get sacked. I think the board somewhere down the line would have found an excuse to get rid of him at some point. So, Jack, Bristol City come to the Stadium of Light at the weekend. They're coming off the back of a 1-0 win away at Plymouth Argyle. Currently sit just above us in the league. If we win that game on Saturday, we move back into the top half. They've won 3 out of their last 5. In terms of threats, an experienced Championship striker who scored the winner for them at the weekend, Naki Wells, Scott Twine, Anis Mehmeti, Tommy Conway as well. All decent players for this division. Mehmeti, a talented player. I remember when he scored against us for Wickham down in League One in that 3-3 draw. The rest of the lads, also Pring on the wing as well, Roberts and Dickey at the back. I think it's going to be a tough game. I just don't see anything other than a defeat, unfortunately, at the moment. I mean, confidence is at an all-time low, but all we want, whether we get the result or not on Saturday, is just a reaction type of performance to say Monday's result was unacceptable. We need to put more heart and passion into this game at the weekend.
Yeah, well, any other team in the Football League that had lost the home game 5-1, you will say, "Oh, there's going to be a reaction, wouldn't you?" Then they're at home on Saturday. Yeah, you'll probably put them on your coupon, wouldn't you? They're definitely going to win. But we all know Sunderland better than any other team, and if there's anybody not likely to react from a performance like that, it is likely to be us. The only one thing that might go in our favour is that Bristol City are pretty much in the same boat as us. They're safe, the same as we are. They have nothing to play for. So really, they might come up and say, well, they might, hopefully, they have the same attitude that we have on Monday. But absolutely hit the nail on the head, because we want to see a performance, because that is completely unacceptable. I know there's a lot of people that probably won't come on Saturday that have season tickets, because they'll think, well, the season's gone and I'm not turning up to watch that. But the ones that do go, we deserve a performance from them. We deserve, regardless of if we win, draw or lose, we deserve a Sunderland team that put in a better showing than that and don't roll over the way that they did on Monday, because it's completely unacceptable. If we lose the game, we lose the game by going down fighting and make the opposition work hard to score against us. Don't give away soft, cheap goals that you would see on a Saturday morning with an under-8s team. You know what I mean? We have to be better than that. We're trying to be a supposed team that's challenging to be in the best league in the world, and it's too often this season it's been too easy for teams to play against us. So yeah, I agree. Just show a bottle, put a few tackles in. if we can get an early goal, you never know. The crowd might get behind a bit, but the main thing is that we show a better organisation and more desire than we showed on Monday, and the Sunderland fans will probably be more willing to accept an improved performance than they did on Monday.
Absolutely. In terms of changes, Jack, what would you like to see Dodds do in terms of who was poor on Monday and who do you reckon deserves a chance starting the game?
It's difficult because a lot of people in the chat would say change all 11, wouldn't they? We would
Absolutely,
have change all 11, but I don't know. It's difficult because we haven't got a great squad, to be honest. I'm looking at the names that we had on the bench and I'm looking at our options, and there's not you can change it, but will that necessarily change anything? I mean, probably could we take Styles out at left back and put Yeller in? I mean, there would be an option if Pembele was in better fitness to drop Hugh, play him there. Obviously, Roberts isn't fit, so the straight option for that would be Abdullah Bar, bring him in. How many is that? 3 already. Bellingham, I like Bellingham. I don't want to bring Burstow back in, but that could be another change that you bring back in. Don't know how fit Corey Evans is. I don't know if he's anywhere near fitness, but those are the 4 or 5 that I would make. But it's not because I don't want to make changes. It's because I'm looking around and we haven't got that great deal of options, Jacob. There's not that many players you would look at and think, oh, yeah, well, they're going to make a difference. Chris Rigg, I would bring... sorry, I forgot Chris Rigg. He came on and got a goal. And I see no reason why he can't play between now and the end of the season. We've got nothing to lose. So, yeah, we'll probably bring Rigg in for Ashish. How many is that? Is that 5? I think probably 5's enough. 5 changes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's picking the best of the worst, I should say, at this moment in time. It's just... it wouldn't surprise me, if put starting 11 from what played on Mondays and say, listen, I want a reaction complete. But at this moment in time, there was a comment made in the chat about not trusting Dodds at all. Well, there's been a few of that. I don't trust him to give decent team talks at this moment in time, to be honest. I mean, we're at a crossroads right now. And it's one of those.
Yeah, I think the trouble is if he doesn't change it, and he goes with the same lads again, and we go 1-0 or 2-0 down, he'll be absolutely crucified, won't he? So I'd be shocked if there isn't a few changes, at least 2 or 3. I get your point, put the same 11 on and let them put it right. But I think he'll know if we get beat again, if we go 1 or 2-0 down and he hasn't made any changes, then it will reach a really difficult level where he probably can't wait until the end of the season. He can't last any longer. So I think there will be changes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do agree with the Rigg one particularly. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going into, I think, his last year on his contract. I mean, there's clubs been linked to him already. And if the board are going to stick with right now, playing players who have got more value, so that can be signed. So was it more value? Playing players who've got more value, so they get more game time. Then Rigg should be starting the game, personally. And I thought he was one of the better ones on Monday. I think obviously he got the goal. I know it was a tap in the end, but whenever I see Chris Rigg plays, he wants to fight and play for this badge. 100%. And if we let a player as talented as that go for nothing, then we're going to be kicking ourselves for a very, very long time. I'm a big fan of Chris Rigg, and if he ends up going to that lot up the road, that will just sum up this board completely, to be honest, because I think at this point the way how things are going, I can see another Colback situation, to be honest.
I'd like to think that the value a bit higher than Colback. I know what you mean, though. There are smacks of that, alleged lad from Tyneside, and he's soon to be on a free transfer. Newcastle rumoured. But I think the one thing that Chris Rigg has in his favour is he's got much more potential than Jack Colback ever had, to be fair. So I think the board, even if they don't respect him as a footballer, they will respect his value, like you say, and probably see him, if we can tie him down to a deal, give him another 3-year deal, involve him more in the first team next season, should he develop, and I think he will develop, then you might then see the big teams come sniffing around him, because he is noteworthy already. The fact he's 15, 16-year-old and he's playing in our first team, he's chipped in with a few goals, and I don't see any reason why not to play him. What have we got to lose? People say, oh yeah, you might burn him out, you might tire him out, but our season's gone. The one thing that my supporters will probably be happy about is seeing a young lad come through the academy and get on and do well for the next 6 or 7 games. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to see that. So I see no negative in playing him and seeing a little bit more from him, because we've seen a lot of our attacking options. Ashish has been a bit hit and miss. Mundell, he's not been great. Dewey's still out, and Burstow, the likes of them, we know all about them. So it'd be nice to see Rig have a genuine run in the team and see how he gets on. So yeah, I think that would be, it makes sense to me, that.
Yeah, I mean, another comment made in the chat tonight, Paul Graham. The young kid, was it Tom Watson, who's the same age as Rig, putting in fantastic performances for the youth side recently. I think he played the other day against Huddersfield. Was it a 4-2 win in the end from us?
Yeah.
I think it was 4-2. So. And even Hamir got on the score sheet that game, which I was godsmacked about. But yeah, from the clips I've seen from it, I mean, I think it's that stage of the season now where we need to be looking at some of those players, to be honest. And he's knocking on the door right now. I mean, I'm not sure about his contract situation, but he looks a real player right now. And if we're not careful, we could be in a similar boat where we let another talented player. And I know there's going to be the debate. We've not seen him play yet, but why not? We've hit a crossroads. Stick these lads in. At least they'll show a lot more heart and passion compared to the players that played on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about Tommy Watson, so I wouldn't really like to comment on him. But I just think with Rig, he's been involved, and he was one of the only ones. He got the goal. He came on, and by all means, he did okay. I was actually out the ground by the time he came on. I went at 4-0, so I can't really give first-hand opinion of how he played. But I saw one or two saying he was the only bright spark when he came on, and he tried to create things, and he tried to have a little bit more of a go. So I'm not sure on Watson, but I would definitely see if we can involve Chris Rig a little bit more. And yeah, I think that might be the only one positive thing that the fans can cling to at the minute. Seeing a local lad come through and blend into the first team, and hopefully gives a good account of himself, because things are drifting at the minute. And if there's anything like that comes, it might be the only positive thing to take from a few weeks. Just go back to the chat, Jacob, before I hand it back to you. Jacob, so how Sunderland are going to give Bob Bass says, so how is Sunderland going to give a reaction by Dodds? Give me a break. So he disagrees. He doesn't think there's going to be any reaction. Jason Black says the club is in bother if the best they can do is sell season tickets. Ask Luke O'Nien to send an email out. Yeah, a lot of people thought that was Luke O'Nien writing that himself. I think it's stupid if you think that. To be fair.
I mean, that was shocking timing from the club as well, coming off the worst performance and defeat of the season, and next season's season tickets landing in people's mailboxes.
Yeah, conveniently timed would be what I would say.
But there's even faff on also with cancelling the direct debit as well, which we'll discuss on another show. But getting in touch with the ticket office at the moment, I mean, I haven't renewed my season ticket for years, but I can understand that people are having problems at this moment in time. I mean, Emma, who's on this show, part of SAFC Fan TV, she's been having all sorts of problems recently. It'd be interesting to have her thoughts and opinions when she next comes on. But yeah, right now, even sorting out season cards for next, whether people want to renew or not, getting it sorted completely is just a completely different story. It adds to the problems right now, doesn't it, Jack?
Yeah, it's not ideal, but I think I'm personally renewing, but I wouldn't blame a lot of people for not renewing. I can understand the thinking behind it. They're tired of the regime. That they can't justify the money that they spend. I hope a lot of people that aren't renewing, do towards the middle of the summer, and maybe they've seen a little bit more optimism with a new manager and a few better signings and are willing to give it a try. But I wouldn't blame anybody for not renewing. I wouldn't have a go at anybody for not renewing the season ticket, because if they don't want to spend the money on that, they don't want to spend the money, and that's that. So just read out a few more comments, Jacob. L12 Bong thinks it'll be a dreary 0-0 on Saturday. Paul Graham's mentioning the under-21s and Watson, as he says. John Nesbitt says the new coach will be onto a hiding to nothing, as at least 4 of our best players will be off. Well, I'm not sure if all 4 will be, John, but I definitely think we'll probably be losing one being Jack Clark. David agrees and thinks Rig will start Saturday. James says Speakman is running the team selection and tactics in the background and he wants them gone. The Nesbitt brothers are in the house, Jim and John. Trevor Dudden, with Dodds, how can you lose? How can you go from losing your first 2 games in charge in your first stint? I think he means winning his first 2 games in charge in your first stint, to winning your first 2 games in your second stint against top opposition, then in third stint being trouble. Not sure what he means there. Gary Talbot, the more games he gets, the more money he will go for. I think that's probably the case, Gary, if he is in the shop window. 130 people watching, 46 likes. Can we get that up to 100 in the last few minutes before the show finishes? If we can, that would be great. So if you're watching, click the like button, and you would like to try and get towards 100. It might be difficult, but if we can get that number up. Last few comments. Jason Black says, simple, he's Pap. I'm not sure who he's talking about there, but that could be anybody. AJJ says, Watson is managing a hamstring issue. Okay, so he probably won't be fit. And the last one's from David Brown. If Dreyfus wants fans to buy season tickets, he should listen to the real concerns we've had from the fans.
Absolutely. I mean, the ambition needs to be upped if they want fans to renew season tickets for next season. I mean, it just felt, we had James Copley on here a couple of weeks ago. The comment he mentioned, Jack, about the club being run on the cheap, you can tell also with that backs up his comment with certain areas of the stadium needing addressing. But this is where there's some good within KLD. He's put that investment into the stadium for next season, which includes new floodlights, a new pitch, a new 5G system as well for mobile users. But then again, the biggest thing we want to see is ambition in the transfer market for who we bring in, but also more importantly, who we bring in as manager as well, Jack.
Yeah, it's a big summer ahead. It's a huge summer ahead, as I say. They've got a lot of questions to answer. And the alarm bells are ringing from the supporters. So yeah, I'm willing to give them the summer, but it's a major surgery needed on the team. 7-8 players at least. Obviously, a new manager to come in, and that might just about keep a few in the job if they get those right. If not, then you could, someone mentioned the chat protests and things like that. I don't think we're too far away from getting to that stage, But yeah, I mean, it's just so disappointing. The season's completely drifted from what could have been a good season at Christmas to drifting away into nothingness. And, the board would be happy with that and just retaining our championship position and squad value and things like that. But the supporters certainly aren't going to stand for that. And the one thing Sunderland fans will do, they'll let you know how we're feeling, won't we? Whether that's getting behind the lads and everybody's happy and buzzing because we're doing well, or the opposite, when we're struggling, the Sunderland fans will let them know. So if they think they're going to get away with not being told, or fans aren't going to make the feelings known, then they're in for shock, because it could get even worse, and then they will really know about it. I hope it doesn't. I hope they prove everybody, the ones that are criticising them, wrong, and we do start and turn things around. But I have my doubts, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we do know, which was announced after the game on Monday, the board will be minus one man. That is Steve Davison. They've announced that he's going to be leaving the club at the end of the season. Good decision. As far as I'm concerned, it's been an absolute disaster from the moment he's come in and in what he's wanted to do, and the relationship with the fans is completely broken down with what's been on show for them to see over. So yeah, would you agree with that decision, Jack?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a car crash from start to finish, hasn't it? Whether it's the PR stuff that's come out, whether it's the managerial appointments he's been involved with, countless wrong decisions. And personally, I've heard people that I know, not many people have got a good word to say about him, and everybody that I've heard says that professionally he's way out of his depth. I'm not talking personally. I mean, I'm not had anybody comment on him personally, but everybody that I've spoken to professionally says he was well out of his depth. Probably the first. But a lot of people in the chat will say the same as I'm going to say now. People will want more. They'll want KLD gone. They'll want Speakman gone. And others, not just Davison. So it might be a start, but it might only be a small part of the chain, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, that brings us to an end of tonight's Thursday Night Live here on SAFC Fan TV. Don't forget, one of our channel sponsors is Retro Hub. Go and check out the link in the description below. Fantastic items for buy. Thank you to the 120 people now who are currently watching the video. Let me just refresh the page in terms of likes that we have got. 71 likes. If we can try to get to 100, it will be very much appreciated. And thank you to everyone who has put a comment and a question into tonight's live chat. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Till next Thursday. If you go into Leeds also, and if you go into the game on Saturday in Bristol City, make sure you sing your hearts out for the lads and keep the faith. We are Sunderland till we die. Till next week.